Syria's new intelligence chief has promised to introduce sweeping reforms. Khattab has said that institutions that were used to terrorise the Syrian people during the regime of Bashar al-Assad will be abolished. The UN has estimated that more than 130,000 people in Syria are missing. Many are feared to have died whilst in detention. In a statement, Khattab said the security establishment will be reformed after dissolving all services and restructuring them in a way that honours our people. He criticised the oppression and tyranny of the old regime through its various security apparatuses, sowed corruption and inflicted torture on the people. He went on to say, whilst the security services of the Assad regime were many and varied, they had all been imposed on the oppressed people for more than 5 decades. Let's bring in our correspondent in Damascus, Resul Serdar. He joins us from there. And Resul, what else did we hear from the intelligence chief? And what indication did he give us as to what his priorities are?
Well, as of now, so they're restructuring the whole intelligence service here. And the reason for that is actually indeed a dissolvement of the whole structure that was existing here previously. And the reason that they're saying so, that they're doing so, is because he believes that the former regime simply had several security apparatuses, but the focus of that security apparatuses was not intelligence gathering, but rather instilling the fear, and says that institutions were corrupt. So now it's a new Syria and they need the new institutions. But here the point is that the whole security apparatus is being dissolved. And it's not only the intelligence. We have seen that the army, the police forces also completely dissolved. Now the head of the intelligence service that was appointed just 3 days ago, Khattab, saying it's going to be completely dissolved. So this, in that sense, it's quite different from the other revolutions that we have seen. Usually we will see that the armies, the security apparatuses being reformed. But here, the new administration has decided to dissolve all of them and to build every single security apparatus from scratch. And one of the reasons for that is a huge mistrust of the new administration toward the old regime's institutions. And of course, it's also decreasing the chances or the possibility of a kind of counter-revolution.
And Resul, give us an update on the security operation that the new administration has launched against members of the former regime.
Indeed, now in the western countryside of the city of Homs, in Latakia and the Tartus, the coastal cities, the operations are still on the way. So, and we're seeing more and more reinforcement being sent to the coastal cities, where was regarded as the previous government's stronghold, and where majority of the Alawite minority live there. We have seen some of the protests, and then right after that, some people calling on even a kind of armed rebel against the new administration. After that, the HTS, that is now the dominant military and political power in Syria, decided to send the reinforcements and to go after those who are calling for a kind of new rebellion. And also the new administration is saying that they have arrested some top officials of the former regime, and they're going to be brought to justice. But today there was another development which is significantly important. So far, all these security operations were mostly in the coastal cities and in and around the city of Homs. But now, for the first time, we are seeing that the new administration is having a military build-up in the northern of Aleppo, namely around the district of Ashrafia and Sheikh Maqsoud. These 2 districts are under the control of the Kurdish fighters. Indeed, these 2 districts are the only districts that the HTS or the Syrian new administration is not in full control. And now the question is, if these Kurdish fighters do not hand over the 2 districts, what will happen? Because it's a huge military buildup by the new administration.
And Resul, we're seeing regional cooperation, aren't we, in this security operation, with Lebanon handing over 70 members of the Syrian military?
Indeed. So yesterday we have seen that Lebanese officials have been handing over 70 Syrian officials, including some of the soldiers. And this is a kind of similar case when Iraq also, like a week ago, has handed over 2,400 Syrian soldiers. But these are not the top officials of the former regime. We are simply talking about the mid-rank and ordinary soldiers. When the opposition here took over the control of the country on December 8th, so those who were close at the border gates or being on duty at the border lines, they simply ran away to the neighboring countries for the security reasons. And now these are being handed over back here. But the top officials are not among them. And we know that there are some of the reports that are confirmed. Some of the top officials of the former regime indeed fled to Lebanon, fled to Iraq. But as of now, none of them has been handed over yet. However, once the security is established here, perhaps the new administration is going to ask the neighboring countries and regional countries to hand over the top officials of the former regime as well. And of course, it's expected to be a kind of source of tension.
OK. Resul, Serdar bringing us all the latest lines there from Damascus. Many thanks indeed, Resul.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.